in the air from the Minnesota Vikings practice facility known as Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center in Eagan, and I'm Paul Allen. Nordo produces, and right out of the gate, we have one of the best right tackles in the NFL. He has been with the Minnesota Vikings into his seventh year now from Pitt. He is Brian O'Neill. Good to see you, Mr. Brian O'Neill. How are things?
I'm great. Good to see you, man.
You too. All right. Well, I thought of you earlier this week, and here's why. Because on the 9 to noon radio show, we had somebody on who I believe is somebody with whom you would be familiar, Brian Baldinger. Okay, Baldy, beloved Baldy. Baldy's breakdowns, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Baldy's on, and I go deep diving into his offensive lineman career a little bit, and I noticed in 1988, Baldy caught a 37-yard pass off a play-action play, okay, as an offensive lineman. Now, a 37-yard reception off play-action, are they ever going to put something in for you with the athletic ability you had in high school? I think it was 614 yards one year, and then you come to Pitt as a tight end. All right, and you know, you made some plays as a non-offensive lineman in whatever fashion at Pitt, but I've asked you this before because I know you're athletic. Are they ever going to throw you a pass?
I don't know. I hope so, but I might have some competition. I don't know if you remember in Green Bay.
Oh, wow.
There was a deflected pass that Garrett Bradbury caught.
Oh, best ever.
And
right in
ran
the middle
for
of the
like
field.
25 yards. It was like our most successful offensive play that day.
It was unbelievable. It was like it was the Vikings' long reception in the game for far too long.
Yeah.
So like when you're losing a game like that, and that happens, how do you be happy about it? Because it's like, wait, lose.
Yeah, you can't really celebrate. And I know he was dying. He was so tired. He doesn't usually run that much.
But
it
wasn't designed for the NC State guy. No. There were things that were designed for the Pitt Panther on a team that, by the way, James Conner was the running back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this before. Like Ryan Grigson, okay, offensive lineman at Purdue. Has he ever showed you his touchdown reception when he played?
No.
When he played at Purdue?
He hasn't, but I'm going to ask him about it.
Right. It was unbalanced. It was, tackle eligible, or however you want to describe it, and he caught a touchdown.
Yeah.
So when I see that, or then when I talk to Baldy and I hear about this 37 yards for a guard, I'm just wondering, when do you lobby for it at all? Do you go through Cooper, the offensive line coach, to get to Phillips, to get to O'Connell, or do you just go straight to the boss and say, I'm not taking it anymore?
I don't know. I think it's something where, you got to have a really good start to the season, maybe good 7-8 weeks of lockdown and pass protection, and then maybe go over there. You don't go asking for it before you put some good film on tape. But
that's a very fair point.
Brian Angelico, our tight ends coach, he does a lot of the red zone planning. So I kind of, in the offseason here or there, have been, playing the seat a little bit.
Well,
we'll
see. I'm glad you said that, because I learned this a couple of years ago, O'Connell's first year. The collaboration term is used a lot here, and it's effective. I mean, and it's pertinent too. Where, like O'Connell, I do a weekly one-on-one with him called X's and O's during the season, and he was talking about the red zone, and he was bragging about Angelico. Kind of like a red zone savant with things he comes up with. But whether it's him, now Josh McCown, Chris O'Hara, your position coach, Chris Cooper, Wes Phillips, Kevin O'Connell, it's like everybody comes together on things. Does it work that way, red zone or outside of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but the continuity as players we've had with them for now our third season should hopefully bode well for us. But just the clear lines of communication and the standard that they set across the board, that everybody knows what needs to be done, and there's no back and forth between coaches. Everybody's pushing the boat in the same direction, which is really awesome.
All right, 2024 Vikings and preseason and stuff like that momentarily. Last one outside of the Covenant. So help us with this, all right? 2016 at Pitt, and Brian O'Neill, skill guy. I'm not off it. I was on it when you got here, and I just low-key been on it. Like, is he ever going to catch a pass? Is he so athletic? That just help us with this. 2016 at Pitt, you ran for a 24-yard touchdown, unless College Football Reference is wrong. Is that accurate? And James Conner was the team's running back, yet you ran for a 24-yard touchdown, didn't you?
I did. It was technically a pass, but it was a lateral, so it counts as a run.
See, you can catch.
I could catch back then. I hadn't tried in a while, but
you started the game as an offensive lineman, right?
Yeah, the play I was an offensive lineman too. It was like a rollout, and then I leaked behind the quarterback
but you, as an offensive lineman, ran. I mean, this could be fable for kids and grandkids if they never see the video. Oh, I made 9 guys miss. I ran through this guy, a future Hall of Famer, was a linebacker for Georgia Tech, ran through him. But what happened on that play? Did you run around people, make moves, cut, stiff arms?
No, it was pretty wide open. I just basically tried not to fumble or trip over myself. That was what I was most nervous about.
How excited do offensive linemen or non-skill guys get when they know something like that is in the mix and then it's called?
Yeah.
You have to contain excitement, right?
Yeah, I remember just being happy it got called early so I didn't have to think about it the whole game while still having to block pass protection on 3rd and 10.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Brian O'Neill, he's right tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. What are some things, just stream your consciousness, you're an elite football mind. What are some things you like about this offense?
Just the amount of playmakers we have. That always helps. Mm-hmm. And just the amount of different ways that we can attack a defense given the playmakers we have. Obviously our receivers speak for themselves. We got really talented tight ends. Josh Oliver never gets enough credit, in my opinion, for what he's able to do, for our run game. And then not only that, in pass protection in the play action game. Mm-hmm. And just been phenomenally impressed with Aaron Jones so far in camp, not only as a player, but just as a dude and a teammate. He's unbelievable. Everybody loves him. He had his son in the hotel the other night. He was coming around giving us high fives. Aww. He's just been a great addition to the offense and great addition to the locker room. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring.
The depth with the offensive line, the Minnesota Moving Company, as I've called it for 2+ decades. It's we're training camp pads just came on. I like the depth. I mean, Quessenberry, I'd heard of him from Houston and also his brother. But, I just gained the immense respect for him last year, where on short notice at Atlanta, he had to jump into that game. And I don't know how practice went during the course of the week. I don't know how many reps he got, but it was a tough spot, man. He jumped in and did a pretty good job. And subsequently, in other spots, he did well, too. So you put him in. They got Juergens, who looks like as a center, maybe backing up Garrett or whatever, looks like he could be pretty good. Rouse, who I've seen back you up at right tackle. And then you got Brandell along with Ingram and Reisner, so we're a little deeper at guard than they've been. What do you think about that? Kind of deep on the O-line all of a sudden.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully everybody in that first 5 stays healthy, so we don't need them. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of competition in the room, and back to David Quessenberry. What I think was even more impressive was when we played the Philadelphia Eagles week 2. Mm-hmm. He had gotten here 6 days beforehand. Yeah. He got here 2 days before the opener against Tampa. Yeah. Well, week 2, Oli Udoh had to start at left tackle. Right. He tears his quad in the second quarter. David Quessenberry's been here for a week. Jeez. Doesn't know a lot of the calls, doesn't know a lot of the things, and just goes out and plays left tackle.
So he was Dobbs before Dobbs was Dobbs.
He was Dobbs before Dobbs.
Didn't get the credit.
Yeah.
Brian O'Neill from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. The rookie Dallas Turner is quite gifted, but he's also very new. Do offensive linemen in side chats ever work with, say, rookie edge guys or defensive linemen, to try to help them along the way?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's new, everybody's fresh, so there's a curve for everybody, no matter what round you were picked or what position you play. Yeah. But yeah, for sure, we'll talk to them after the play and be like, hey, you gave this away here, or hey, that was a good move, finish here, try to show something else. So yeah, we've been talking to him, but at the end of the day, he's kind of got to feel those things for himself, because I don't know what it feels like to be a D end to have an unsuccessful rush. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got to feel those things out himself, and with plenty of reps. But the way he attacks practice and the physical freak that he is, and his mindset and maturity, I think he's going to be just fine.
So that means you're comfortable working with Aaron Jones on the proper route of catching a lateral and running down the field, because you've done it, right?
I don't know about that.
You scored a 20-some-odd yard touchdown as a beefeater, as an offensive lineman. It doesn't happen much.
I'm not going to tell Aaron Jones where to run that ball with some of the cuts he's made in training camp so far.
And one thing with Aaron, and I'm probably dumb for not recognizing this. I mean, I've called a bunch of his games, and I've watched him play, as have you. I had no idea how fast he was. He's unbelievably fast. So, like, people are, Tyreek Hill and always talking about super fast people around the league. I mean, Aaron's fast, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really fast, and he gets downhill quick.
Right.
It takes him one revolution to cut and get vertical, and that's something that's really hard to find. There was a play the other day in practice. He went to the left side, and it was kind of a hit, and we were chasing down the field, and he made a cut on a safety, and I kind of bumped into him. And almost kind of tackled him almost. Yeah. He's like, "Thanks, B." And I'm like, "What are you saying thanks for? I almost knocked you over." And he's like, "For getting downfield and blocking."
Right.
And I was like, "All right,
that's awesome
for doing my job." Right. I guess.
When training camp scuffles or little pushes back and forth, when those start to ensue, what leads to them? I mean, hot, tired, frustrated, like what?
Yeah, hot, tired. I think the fact that the same guys have been going against each other day in and day out, rep after rep. So, today at practice, it'll be my 200th pass set against Jonathan Gennard. You know? So, guys are trying to make a play, one last extra shove, maybe a shove on the shoulder pad, slides up and gets under a face mask.
Yeah.
And then somebody pushes back, and then that guy's got to, and it just kind of rolls. But we've been pretty good here for the past couple of years in terms of training camp and those kind of scuffles. We've avoided them for the most part. And, it's football. Guys are competitive. And KO talks about we want to get right up to that line and flirt with it and then come back down. We don't want to cross it, but we want to be super competitive with a tough play style, and that's part of the game.
And what triggered me asking that is I don't know if you happen to see this from yesterday, but at Giants camp, rookie receiver Malik Neighbors and Kirby Joseph, the safety who hit Hawkinson, they got into a nasty fight yesterday. Did you happen to see it?
I saw there was a bunch. There was 8 or 10 of them.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
But it's okay. So we got the padded, what do you call those? The helmet bits.
Guardian caps.
Yeah, the Guardian caps. Well, I mean, okay, it's not exactly a completely soft down pillow. You still can feel the helmet. My man Kirby's just throwing hard punches, hitting my man's helmet. I'm like, why are you hitting the guy's helmet? You might break your hand. So people go out of body when they get hot and tired. And I just wonder what has to get underneath somebody's skin so much to go full fight in a training camp. But that's what happened yesterday. Fortunately, it doesn't happen here with this Raiders game this weekend. And Antonio Pierce was quoted a couple days ago as saying, because they have a quarterback battle between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. It's from reports. It's very up and down. Let's just put it that way. So he's like, I'm playing my starters. Don't know how long in this Raiders game. Don't know if we're talking about Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins. Can't imagine Devontae would play, just like Justin's never played a preseason game in his life. But game planning for preseason games, whether starters play or not, how much goes into it?
It's definitely probably a little bit less than a regular season game, just because we have a training camp practice today. And today would already be considered Thursday of a game week,
right,
if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So we would have already this would be a second day of major install on a normal game week, but I'm sure in afternoon and night meetings today, we'll take a look at them. Tomorrow will be a big prep day for the Raiders. And at the end of the day, it is a football game. And, even guys who have played a lot of games in the NFL, game days are special. And so you want to be prepared and you want to be ready to go. And, on a personal note, looking ahead to the first couple weeks of the season, there's some serious edge rushers the first couple games of the season. So if, I end up getting a half, a quarter, or 3/4 the whole game, whatever it is, against Max Crosby, great, because I need the work. We need the work, because what's coming down the road of hopefully 17 to 21, 22 games this year, we're going to need to be ready, and any opportunity to get ready, it's, we're paid to play football. So if there's a football game, we want to be out there.
So, like, you start thinking now, just low-key, about Bosa, week 2, and Daniil, week 3, with Will Anderson. And, the Giants are first, and they got that monster in the middle, Dexter Lawrence. He's not really your responsibility, right?
No, but they have 2 heck of edge rushers on the outside, too.
I didn't want to bring him up. But Dexter's the bomb.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
He's really good.
But, there'll be a time to get there, but that's the point of, probably, maybe playing in this game, having joint practices with the Browns, get, Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson under our belt so that, hopefully we're very battle-tested going into the season, ready to play some elite players.
Got a minute and small change left. You get it all. What do you like about Darnold so far?
His poise and confidence in the pocket. He's got a quiet confidence about him. He's got a really quick release, and some of the throws you make, you're like, oh wow, and he's a dude. He's one of the guys. I think he's having a really good camp, and excited to work with him.
What about McCarthy?
Great kid. Yeah, does everything right. He's made some serious plays out there, and he's got a little bit of moxie and swag to him.
Super excitable.
Yeah, for sure. And guys rally around him. And, I don't know enough about quarterbacks to, say this or that. But I think he's got a bright future.
See, that's why they never put a pass play in for you. You don't know.
I got one lane right there on the right side.
And lastly, has Darisaw bought you guys anything post that big deal? Is he taking care of the Minnesota Moving Company?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's coming, knowing him. But so happy for him, and
he's great.
Everything that he got, because he deserves it all.
Yeah, likewise for you. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Brian O'Neill starts 9 to noon on FM 100.3. KFAN Nordo produces, and that's all courtesy of TimberTech. And I'm Paul Allen. Vikes Bites are next.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
So, off the Brian O'Neill conversation, and we thank Spearfish Sammy and Vikings Public Relations, and also Brian O'Neill for stopping by during what is quite the busy, arduous schedule for these players and coaches this time of the year. They practice later today, and then they play the Raiders, 3 o'clock U.S. Bank Stadium, and that's a simulcast. So those listening via the free iHeartRadio app, here, there, and everywhere, you'll see the game on NFL Network. Locally, they'll see it on Fox 9, and we'll all hear it on FM 100.3 KFAN. But in looking for crumbs and looking for ideas or tells as to who's going to play this weekend for both teams, when I read this in The Athletic, and Alec Lewis with The Athletic joins us here at 11 o'clock, and I'm going to bring it up to him. The beat writer, the Alec Lewis for The Athletic covering the Raiders, I think maybe Antonio Pierce said this at a press conference. I haven't gone back and watched his pressers, but he's into his first full year coaching the Las Vegas Raiders. And he said it was tied to the problems they're having at Raiders training camp with their quarterbacks. Yeah. Where Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, they've been splitting reps. And there was one training camp practice where there were a combined 9 interceptions. And then, now the good news for the Raiders is because of the quirky nature of their Southern California training camp and the fact that they're having the training camp in areas that somehow the NFL has deemed belong to the Rams and the Chargers. Yeah. So therefore, they can't advertise it. They can advertise it in Vegas. Come watch us in El Segundo. Come watch us in La Jolla. Come watch us in Irvine. But they can't in Southern California. Like TV commercials, nothing. So I don't think they have any fans. So that's the good news for the Raiders is that
now media can be there, right?
Yes.
Is it private bits?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But and probably they probably grease the corporate people and the season ticket holders, like with private stuff like that. Sure. But the good news for the Raiders is fans en masse, like here at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, they're not seeing this. They're just reading about it. O'Connell flubbing, then Minshew flubbing. And so Pierce was quoted, I read this Monday at The Athletic, that I'm playing my starters. Okay. Well, when a coach says I'm playing my starters in a preseason game, then like if O'Connell said it, then I would say, okay, playing my starters except Jefferson.
Yeah.
Justin's never played in a preseason game. He ain't playing in this game. I mean,
Correct.
I can't see how he plays. Harrison Smith, can't see how he'd play in this game. Maybe Aaron Jones. Maybe that's more of a 50-50. But here's the question: is if Antonio Pierce, now Devontae's been missing time at practice because of the birth of a son, his son, who may already have come into the world, but this was Monday and he had missed a couple of practices, so Devontae's been away.
Congrats to the new dad.
Indeed, if indeed mom popped the baby, but so Devontae, baby or not, I can't see Devontae playing in this game. But with that said, if what Pierce is saying, that he's going to use his starters, means his first offensive line, but their defensive line is the rave of their training camp.
Yes.
I mean, that's what, when I read all these recaps and stories, it's like the two strongest positions on the Raiders, defensive line and tight ends. They got that Georgia kid.
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers at like 12th or 13th or something.
Yep.
Then they got this Michael Mayer, who is
He was a rookie last year, maybe?
Yes, very athletic, came together late last year, and they're really high on him. So if they're going to bookend with their best two tight ends, but more importantly, if they're going to roll Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins out there, how do you counter it? I mean, because our coach is McVay raised.
Yep.
Which means no chance any of my best get dinged up in these games.
Darisaw not going against Max Crosby on Saturday.
Now Christian, I'm not sure if Christian practiced yesterday. The part that I was here,
he and JJ both missed yesterday.
Okay.
I think there were like personal reasons or something.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about, but they were out. Yeah.
I didn't see either one. And then on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field, we had Shaq Griffin, N'Keal Harry, Malik Knowles, and I think one other. But again, it doesn't seem to be anything serious with them. However, if he's going to play Crosby and Wilkins, what do? I mean, does that mean if Darisaw's good to go, O'Neill, he's good to go? Brett, I mean, do you roll your first offensive line out to counter that, just to make sure? Because there are ways around if you play your second offense, or if it's like Darisaw, Bradbury, O'Neill, I ain't using them in a preseason game.
Yep.
If that philosophy is taken, I'm not mad at it. However, if Darnold starts, and that very well could happen, Darnold maybe into McCarthy.
Yep.
Now McCarthy would run with the twos, assumedly against the Raiders' twos. But if Pierce is going to play his ones, specifically offensively, because it's like, your garbage problem with these quarterbacks you're having should not be our problem. I mean, we're, like Blake Brandell at left guard. I'm a fan of getting him myriad reps in this game and then in the two joints against Cleveland. After that, I would imagine you analyze and kind of see where he is in a new spot. But there's so much new here with Grenard and Turner and Van Ginkel and Cashman and Fabian Moreau. I saw him running with the ones again yesterday. So there's so much new here. I just wonder if in this particular game, and it's at home, if it's incumbent upon our team to play different players than we normally would play in this game, A, because Pierce is treating it like a regular season game, and you don't want to get knocked around in front of your fans. But B, because there's so much new. It's like when O'Connell rolled in here, all right, he could look at 17 games of Thielen and Dalvin Cook and Eric Kendricks and Danielle Hunter and all the players that he had here. That's not necessarily the case now, specifically at the quarterback spot. So it's quite compelling, and it's something this Saturday that I think is going to be fun to watch in the early stages of the game. if Pierce, when he says, I'm playing my starters, if that means Crosby and Wilkins, you better start getting ready right now.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but maybe conversations take place, kind of a gentleman's agreement between coaches that'll take place and say, this is ultimately my plan. I'm not trying to throw you off guard here in a preseason game. So I do want Wilkins and I do want Crosby out there. Now, if I'm Kevin O'Connell, I'm thinking to myself, well, Darrisaw's not playing. I'm not risking that. You mentioned Bradbury and O'Neill as well. I'd be tending to agree there. So good luck, Walter Rouse. Is it Juergens? Is it Dan Feeney that's taking that center spot? And then however they want to handle, maybe it's a Quisenberry. But I do want to see Brandel get reps. I want to see Ingram as well, even though we can look at unofficial depth charts here and there and who's getting what during camp practices. I don't believe that conversation's completely over. So Reisner is going to get a chance to play. This is also about, by the way, if you do intend on getting Sam Darnold reps and then getting J.J. McCarthy out there for a fair stretch, I want to get Darnold a fair shot.
Thank you.
Without Wilkins and Crosby kind of ruining the entire bit, because them at preseason 70% is enough to cause a problem for most offensive lines in the league. So I don't need Darnold getting hurt in a preseason game, or it's timing offense. There are certain things we want to work on. All of that plays into it. And you mentioned defensively.
Well, just quickly, there's a way around it. So, like you know, if Pierce rolls with his preferred front seven, the front seven they're going to use in their first regular season game, you're not obligated to put the first Minnesota Moving Company out there. But with a new quarterback, it's a new quarterback unless you start Mullins, and that ain't going to happen. It's a new quarterback unless you start Hall, and that ain't going to happen. So it's Darnold into McCarthy or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's so new that it actually, if Darrisaw is good to go, and O'Neill's and your first moving company's good to go, man, one series against Crosby and Wilkins before you go to Cleveland to mess with Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Myles Garrett, that's not a bad little prep for that.
No.
But if you don't use all of the moving company, and like say what you said is right, like I ain't using Darrisaw in this game, I ain't using O'Neill in this game. Well, then quick game is what they would call in the business. I mean, it's 3-step drop swing, 3-step drop dump, run.
You know, there you go.
Because you can play Crosby and Wilkins, but I ain't getting my guy hit.
And you're running Chandler. You're not running Aaron Jones in that situation either. The one thing you mentioned defensively,
Wanwu, by the way, I know it's Vikes bites, but I don't know what you have in it. Wanwu on this kick return thing.
Well, I mean, he's a track star, right?
Yeah, but I've seen it 15, 20 times with him or Powell or Ty Chandler. And I'm like, all right. Yesterday it was different. And I don't know if they put different things in, different trap blocks, different doubles.
Yeah.
Man, Kane looked really good in the kick return game yesterday.
Whatever his future is at running back, that does not at this point look bright. He does have 3 kick return TDs in his first 2 seasons, right? So I like him in that
4.
spot.
Just kidding. 1.
Defensively,
I'm trying to get you this morning, but you're cutting in Giles off the charts right now. You're not budging.
Defensively, Flores is not. I mean, this is going to be a pretty vanilla situation, right? With Flores' defense in a preseason game,
I would assume
minimizing floaters.
But I was reminded on a podcast I did last night with JJ Vikings and Spitfire Coda, and it's available at JJ Vikings. Love those kids. But JJ Vikings reminded me in the Arizona preseason game last year, really early in the game, Jay Ward came with a naked, remember the Jay Ward blitz? And he crushed one of the Arizona L's on 3rd down. So, I mean, was
that a Clayton Tune situation?
It might have been Clayton Tune or John Skelton or the skeletal remains of Kurt Warner. But that was early in the game. And it's a vanilla plan with a little Jay Ward sprinkles on top because he hit the bleep out that quarterback.
So that's why I think, and I bet you, without knowing the inside inner working and mechanics, I bet you they plan that stuff. Yeah. I would hope that they do. I hope they have those conversations. You know, we both want to get out healthy. We both want to get out better. And so, but hey, Jonathan Gannon's like, look, I don't know how we handle certain looks on defense.
Yeah.
why don't you throw us a little curveball, Brian, early on and see how my guys react to it?
But see, go ahead.
And then it ends up Clayton Tune staring up at the roof.
But see, off what Pierce said. Now, Antonio Pierce has me all wound up because he came out on a Monday for a game on Saturday and said, I'm playing my starters. Antonio, my man, everybody holds that until Friday or Thursday.
Yeah.
So hyperactive rubes like me, cartoon characters like me, don't spend the entire week being stimulated and or wound up over it. Because now I'm thinking, all right, well, Cashman, Pace, in another year for Pace, Van Ginkel, Grenard, Dallas Turner, Theo Jackson, he's a floater in the 3-4 hybrid with floaters. Jay Ward plays more corner at practice than he does safety, so Jay Ward has become a corner in my estimation. And there's so much new on defense that if Antonio's going to roll out with his ones, I don't care if it's O'Connell, Minshew, O'Connell. We might have to see our guys a little bit in this game just to get ready for the calm and Deshaun and Chicknub and Njoku and Amari Cooper and the nice ones he has,
Yeah, I don't want to dismiss it as bluster or just kind of preseason game bravado. We kind of heard it similarly from D'Amico Ryans. Maybe it's like an offense-defense thing where these defensive-minded head coaches are like, no, you're not chilling on the sideline.
Oh, wow. You're
not going to be mic'd up like JJ is going to be in the third quarter here.
Yeah.
No, you're going to play.
That.
And I think...
And all the offensive-minded coaches are like, no, the violin's over there and it's not getting touched.
Correct.
The cello's over there and nobody's playing it until the first performance.
Yes.
The bass is over there. We just got it from Larry Graham. It's antiquated immortality from Sly and the Family Stone. Nobody's touching it until we get to New York, okay?
So from a mentality standpoint, if you had free time on a Saturday night, would you go watch an orchestra perform? That's Kevin O'Connell.
Yes.
Or would you go watch a county fair demolition derby? And that's Antonio Pierce.
Right. I know, but I don't want to be the car on the other side of his car crashing into my car when the games don't count.
No, the school bus versus the Geo Metro. It's
and then
always...
the monster truck rolls out, known as Max Crosby, and 3 people die.
So we're going to get a chance. I think the A topic for him too is he has to be disgusted with the quarterback play because he's been obsessed with it. Every time I see quotes from him, it's usually quarterback related, and it's usually negative.
Always quarterback related.
He's worried about it,
and he's trying to be as nice as he can with these quotes.
And he doesn't have Josh Jacobs anymore.
Right.
And flashback Samir Abdullah. Thanks for your service on the Vikings. Now he's out there. Yeah. Is it Zahir White?
I think it's Zahir.
Yeah.
And into Alexander Madison. Madison's their
Madison's the guy. That's right.
Back. They're going to try to put Madison on 3 touchdowns in this game, and that has me wound up too.
So we're going to see a couple of guys in purple. Yeah, their ones versus our sprinklings, and see where we get to from there. Vikes Bites, by the way, is presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
It's not?
You can go to thousandhillslifetimegraze.com. Box of meat shows up at your doorstep. You can go to Coburn's, your local co-ops, and all of that. Thank you, Thousand Hills. It's a Clearwater, Minnesota company. Speaking of the preseason, I was tooling around on X this morning, and I saw this from a Vikings fan page. The Vikings have lost 10 consecutive preseason games. And again, and this goes back to 2019. So all the preseason games, and it was the final year of 4 in 2020, and those were all canceled because
we haven't won a preseason game post-pandemic.
That is correct. And so 10 in a row going back to 2019.
Oh, geez.
So if they're playing their ones.
Oh, geez.
I mean, are we looking, should we almost start rooting for the inverse of a Baltimore Ravens type streak?
No.
And just lose them all?
No. O'Connell wants to win a preseason game.
He does?
I shared that last year. I can't remember into what. I think, it's like on a 1 to 10. I think it's a 1.2 on the bugometer. But I think it bugs Kevin. He hasn't won a preseason game. Now, he knows a lot goes into it, but I didn't realize that's how deep it was, that we hadn't won since the disease pandemic. Holy cow.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm rooting for a close one. I'm rooting, and when we have Gabe in, I'm going to talk more, and we all will really, in terms of what we're looking to see on Saturday. but I'm looking forward to why not extend that streak? It doesn't count. I want wins in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, they're celebrating, and Harbaugh's, dusting Tucker off to get a game winner in the late stages of a preseason game at M&T. You know what? They can have the Raiders and Antonio Pierce can have their victory in August. We'll take our victories starting in September.
Yeah, I mean, whether the team wins or loses, it's not going to cost me sleep. But I do believe the head coach wants to win a game, so he doesn't have to look at social media or hear any questions from members of the assembled media asking him about that record. So you can put that to bed. And I just hadn't realized that it had been that long. Holy cow.
My last bit for you here, and you chatted with owner and president Mark Wilf yesterday, and then also he had some additional availability yesterday, I believe, and it was reported on widely, and the fact that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, head coach Kevin O'Connell, we're going to hear from the head coach next segment, his press conference from yesterday afternoon. But the head coach and the GM entering the third year of matching 4-year contracts.
Yep.
Typically, a lot of these guys aren't quote-unquote lame ducks, so not necessarily in that mode yet. But after 2024, we would start that conversation about extensions and where that thing sits. And any overlying thoughts on that at all? Are we gripping the stick? Are we sweating a little bit over results in 2024 dictating how that outlook is perceived 6 months from now?
You'll in the O'Connell presser that you're going to hear shortly. Kevin Seifert was the one who asked the question near the end of the press conference, and that question has been posed to Adolfo-Mensah and O'Connell before. Kevin, so by far, did it the best and right and not kid gloves, but best, right, and most prudent way that I've heard. Kevin's answer was compelling. It's been presented a couple of times, and just in a way that I just didn't like, because it tied to, like, do you feel incumbent to use McCarthy?
Right.
Because you guys got this with your deal.
That's the idea of resetting the clock, and that's been talked about too, right? You draft that guy.
Okay, hey, my man, why don't you just come out and say, are you going to sabotage the team if McCarthy's not ready? Because your deals are 2 seasons, or you got 2 seasons left.
Yep.
So are you going to sabotage the team and force the guy in there to prove, see, I can coach him. See, that's why I drafted him. Just so your lot in life will improve or potentially improve. It's ridiculous when I hear it that way. Kevin didn't do it that way. Kevin did it the right way. And the answer you'll hear from O'Connell around the corner is very telling, and it's pretty good, and it's very honest. And that's going to be next when we return to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on KFAN.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. As you heard when we went into break, thanks again to Thousand Hills for Vikes Bites. We wanted to hear what the head coach had to say. It is Kevin O'Connell addressing the media from yesterday afternoon at Vikings training camp. Let's listen.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wanted to start out today and just, I know what it looks like sometimes when a cart comes out for a player at a training camp practice. There can be a lot of speculation. I know we tried to get some information to you guys in regards to Jerry Tillery. So he did get a pretty significant laceration kind of on the back of his leg there, lower calf area, that although very concerning, he is going to be, fully recovered. He did have to get a couple stitches on that, but as far as the major injuries that maybe our fans or you folks might have been worried about, that is not the case. He'll be back. Just got to let those stitches heal, and he'll be ready to roll. So Jerry is going to be just fine, and just wanted to make sure I clarified that as we get into kind of a pseudo game week here. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Depth chart came out today. I'm sure that's ironclad and won't change at all here in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not. Look, I think it's very important to make sure we are articulating, maybe not with 100% exact accuracy line by line, but we do have a football team here and a roster, and they play certain positions, and there is a depth at which that has to take place because you can only put in 11 at a time. But I'm glad we were able to get that out and circulating.
As it is a game week, I'm assuming you're working through who's going to play and who isn't. Will Sam Darnold play?
Yeah, so we've got, we met on everything, went through the whole roster. There's a couple kind of bumps and bruises. We're going to kind of see how guys turn over throughout the early part of this week. Over-communicate that to the players first, and I think I get you guys again on Thursday, and I'll update you guys on kind of the plan going into the game, with as much transparency as I can give you.
Kevin, how far have you seen J.J. McCarthy grow just since the pads came on? It's obviously a very different game. And what do you want to see from him in this week when he gets a lot of opportunities to take a step forward?
Yeah, I think it's just, although it's a new week, although he's stacked some good days together, he's had some, great learning moments that he's come back the next day and showed immediate improvement on. From the time he got here in the spring, post-draft to now, he's already improved so much. I can't say enough about the job Josh and Grant and really the other quarterbacks, Sam, Nick, and Jaron are doing as a support system for each other, and vice versa, JJ with those other three guys. I think it's unique how you've got really four guys in that room on totally different places in their quarterback journey, but yet all running the same offense, learning the same plays, some with experience, some with none in the system, and those guys are really just growing on a daily basis. I think I'm just excited to continue to see kind of the snap in and snap out execution details of doing the job. It's not always the result of a play when you're wearing a red jersey that ultimately matters. Is was your footwork right? Were your feet and eyes working together, eyes in the right spot, the rhythm and timing at which you made your decision, then the throw location. Did you make guys work for it? Did you throw it away from a defender? Did you put the optimal amount of touch or ball placement? There's so many layers to it. In the moment, you don't want to overcoach it. You want to let guys play. But as we get into the meeting room and then really try to stress that daily progress, there's certainly a lot of opportunities for that.
Robert Tonyan?
Yeah, he's, I don't know exactly where he's at in his progression, working his way back, but I hope we get him back as soon as possible because really want to see him get an opportunity getting back out. And he was doing a really good job. When we got him in the spring, it was kind of like, hey, I'm learning this. I can't wait for training camp. And right about the time you were seeing him feel comfortable within the plays and really absorbing that opportunities at the tight end position. We lose him for a couple days here, so we'll get him back as soon as we can and hopefully throw him into the mix there, competing at the tight end spot.
I asked you about Lewis Seen in a while. Where is he at in his recovery there?
Yeah, glad you asked. So Lewis will, he picked up a little bit of his workload today, walk through, and then he'll be eased back in to individual, and then hope to get him some work throughout the rest of the week and see him play on Saturday.
Kevin, without naming a starting QB, is there a general plan to play both Sam and JJ on Saturday, or just wait till Thursday?
There is a general plan for not only the quarterbacks but all of our guys, and we'll keep you posted. It's not a matter of any kind of game planning secrets for this game, more so than maybe any other preseason game we've ever had. It's more about communicating directly to the player, so they hear it from myself or coaches first before obviously it's out there in the world for them to read about. It's really a matter of we're still in training camp mode. I mean, today's practice and tomorrow will be fully padded. We'll be continuing to kind of move forward with our competitions. This isn't by any stretch a in-season type of day where you're really thinking about, hey, we got a Saturday game, we got to be smart. No, we're going, competing, really trying to get back to right back into that training camp mode. And our guys were super flexible with the kind of the weather and storms that rolled in here, last night. And I'm fortunate to be able to have a schedule where we can adapt, still get the night practice in a few days, and not miss any pads days throughout training camp. So we've got a good plan for the week, and as that information kind of gets out to the players, you guys will receive it as well.
With that in mind, have Have you had to tweak your philosophy at all with all the new players and how different this team is with how you approach the preseason?
Yeah, every year is a new year, and we've kind of handled it differently based upon the team we originally kind of started coaching in 22. We had a plan for, got off to a fast start. Thought we needed to change it a little bit in regards to maybe playing a couple more guys that we wouldn't have previously. Last year didn't get off to a great start, but none of those things really matter. It's about this year's team, how we've handled training camp, a little bit more from a physicality standpoint, a little bit more bumps and bruises here and there because of how it's going. But my hope is we've got a good group of guys to go out there and be competitive with on Saturday.
Hey Kevin, what do you remember about the way that you felt approaching your first NFL game experience?
As a player? I just was so excited, and you get all those butterflies, and then you get out there and you realize it's the same old game you've been playing. It's just happening faster, maybe some different looks, so I do remember, especially with how intricate, defenses can be in practice. Sometimes you can get some much cleaner looks in the game, simplified to some extent, but other games you go out there and teams want to test their stuff out, so you never really quite know. So there's always some uncertainty. There's not 4 or 5 games of inventory of tape that you kind of can just go to work on to give yourself that quieted mind and comfort. You're really just kind of going out there trying to run some core, simple plays, core philosophy plays that give guys a chance to compete by doing their job on an individual basis. And through the process of that, you hope you come out with some success moving the ball, scoring points, getting some stops on defense, good, clean plays in the kicking game. So it's about the competition. It's about kind of building individually on maybe work guys have done out here on the field. But at the same time, you want to move the ball, you want to be efficient, you want to just play good football. I think wants to be the theme for us throughout the preseason.
Have you seen Sam and JJ both scramble and make plays kind of off schedule? How do you approach that with practices and training camp when obviously they're not scrambling from a real pass rush, and you want both guys to make plays but also throw where you want them to throw the ball? Like how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, I've already seen on a few snaps, I know you guys have as well, like the benefit of these guys having that skill set to maybe a play that by the design or bad play call that I got or great call by Flo, the best scenario could either be a scramble, chance to make a playoff schedule, or a throwaway and save the down. Those guys have demonstrated the ability to do both with their athleticism and still remaining passers as they get outside the pocket and attack. And of course, to your point, there's always some times where would it have been a sack, would it have not been a sack? We'll have plenty of time to find out the answers to those questions when we get into the games. And I just love seeing it. I love seeing our guys at the receiver, tight end, back position have to really understand that these plays are going to come to life, and how do we react? What's our discipline of where we need to be to space out the field and maximize the ops, as well as the line, knowing I'm going to have to strain to finish, maybe another click or two longer than than I'm used to, based upon these guys are extending plays. That means the playing through the echo of the whistle, and that all circles back in a different way to that play style thing. What's it look like? How many times can we guys have 11 guys going to the echo of the whistle, legally clean but physical and finishing? But it's been fun. It's been fun to watch. It's been good for our defense too, watching those guys plaster in coverage and try to compete all the way through the down.
Master, is that more of an adjustment for the offensive line or the skilled players?
I wouldn't call it an adjustment as much as that's what we've seen show up organically, just with how these guys are. Yeah, they're exhausting their progression. They're playing with good rhythm and timing. But if it does break down, or they, to avoid the coverage sack, the old saying, the coverage sack, hey, get out and try to extend and see if we can uncover. I mean, we hit Aaron Jones, Sam did, down in the red zone. I think we hit Johnny Munn a couple times, or had a chance at him down in the red zone. And that's where, red zone scoring, to throw the ball in the end zone with the condensed field, you're going to need a few of those. And certainly it's been a real positive seeing those guys make those plays, but not force them, not preemptively decide any which one way they're going to operate. It's at the end of exhausting a progression, 2 hands on the ball security in the pocket, moving up and out to attack and try to make a play, and saving us from any negatives, because we experienced a lot of negatives last year. So whether it's ball security, decision making, how I'm holding it in the pocket, ball carriers, how they're holding it, penalties, we're trying to be a disciplined, sharp outfit that just plays good football and let the plays come to you. And if that ends up being how we score, nobody will be more excited about it than me.
Last one. Kevin, Mark Wilf said on the record out here a few minutes ago that there's not going to be any contract extension talk for either you or KOC.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if your mindset as you move through camp and do all the things that you're going through now, like, is that in any way on your mind, part of your mindset, anything that you're thinking about here as you move forward?
No, I've learned, I've took some questions from this group about, what I've learned since day one on this job. And I can tell you the one thing is you do not have time, energy, or anything like that to worry about things that are outside of your control. And I've, got a full-time gig here where I got to focus on these players, these coaches, and making sure we're having ourselves the best training camp we've ever had here, which will hopefully lead into a successful season. But, I'm very much focused on the task at hand and doing my job every single day, looking for any way I can be better for this organization and this team.
That's Kevin O'Connell addressing the media yesterday, and 10 a.m. hour is ahead of us, kicking off with Pete Bursich. We're going to check in with the radio analyst, Vikings Radio Network, former linebacker, former coach Pete Bursich. Then Gabe Henderson is going to be in studio. A couple hours left, 9 to noon, right here on The Fan. Stay with us.